All right, so this is part two. So here we go. We'll just pick up where we left off. How to read a food label. So generally, this is when if we were meeting in person, I would have brought in food labels and we would kind of review each of those labels as a group, and they would be items, food items that we generally do eat, certain snacks, chips, whatever it may be. I did ask you in the last session to have a couple food labels handy. If you didn't, no big deal. You can absolutely just use this one that's displayed on your screen. But if you do, it's kind of cool to learn how to read the food label and also go ahead and read the food label on an item that you have in your house, and just kind of you'll either realize if it really wasn't that bad for you, if it was a lot worse than you thought. So this is it's interesting when you start reading food labels. Definitely makes you more aware of the foods that you are eating. All right, so here we are. So if you even see this screen, or you can look in your workbook, you see the serving size. You want to make sure you notice the serving size, the calories, and then look at the total fat, cholesterol, and sodium. Definitely pay attention to those. And then also in the blue, you can see you want to get enough of the nutrients that are in blue. So we're talking about the dietary fiber, the vitamin A, vitamin C, calcium, and iron. So those are also something we want to pay attention to. And as you see in the purples, the daily value percentage. So 5% or less is low and 20% or more is high. And then also we kind of want to note, make sure we're on the lookout for any sugar additives in different breakfast cereals. So we have corn syrup, high fructose corn syrup, fruit juice, concentrate, maltose, dextrose, and sucrose. Those are also things we want to pay attention to when we're reading the ingredients for our food labels. And those are things that we need to limit as well. And then you want to keep your fat intake, so your total fat intake, you want to keep that less than 30% of your total daily calories. So that's kind of the gist on how to read a food label, and we can go more into detail if needed, but that's that's what you really need to know when reading it to make it simple. So just pay attention to those. Any questions, please feel free to reach out to me, but it's pretty self-explanatory, but I would be happy to help if you need me. So, all right, to keep weight under control, people need a balance between the amount of food they eat and the amount of physical activity they get. Food provides the energy or fuel that the body needs to function. A calorie is a way to measure the energy a food item provides for the body. The more active a person is, the more food they will need. It's easy to give your body more food than it needs. When you do that, either the body stores the extra fuel in its fat cells, which become bigger to make room for the extra fuel, or it makes more fat cells. To keep from becoming overweight, we need to balance the amount of food we eat with the amount of energy we use. The amount of energy we use is based largely on how physically active we are. This balance is known as the energy balance. If you look at page 11 and 12 in your workbooks, it kind of goes over the energy balance as well in greater detail. And like I said, if we were in person, we would have another exercise for this, but I will continue on. So now that we know it's important to eat a variety of foods and eat several servings of fruits and vegetables each day, but there's another side to healthy eating. It's also important to limit some types of foods that are high in sodium, saturated fat, and then also sugar. These foods should only be eaten once in a while. They play a part in heart disease, heart attack, stroke, and other diseases such as cancer. We'll discuss sodium, fat, and potassium in detail because these are major factors in controlling blood pressure. Reducing fat and sodium while increasing potassium intake may help lower blood pressure. Sodium makes up makes up a part of salt. Sodium makes up a part of salt. So it is used in mixtures to flavor and preserve many foods we buy in the grocery stores. Sodium is important because it brings the right amount of water to our cells, but when we eat foods with too much sodium, water stays in the blood. The kidneys usually flush extra fluid from the body, but if the kidneys can't handle all the fluid, it stays in the blood. A higher volume of blood often makes the pressure in the blood vessels rise. As we've learned, high blood pressure is a risk factor for heart disease and stroke. And for kidney disease, we don't want to forget. So eating foods or drinking liquids that are too salty or cooking with too much salt will increase blood pressure. Americans eat, it's no surprise, Americans eat too much sodium. The dietary guidelines for Americans suggest that we take in less than 2,300 milligrams of sodium total each day. This is about 1 teaspoon of salt. However, people with hypertension are recommended to eat less than 1,500 milligrams a day, which is about 2/3 of a teaspoon of salt. So if you're at your house right now, go grab a teaspoon and then a 2/3 of a teaspoon. It's not that much, so definitely makes you a little more aware of how much sodium we actually eat versus how much our bodies actually need. The lower your salt intake, the lower your blood pressure will be. Choose fresh, plain, or frozen foods without added salt. When buying canned or packaged food, choose low sodium items that have no more than 140 milligrams of sodium per serving. And if you look at page 13 in your workbooks, these are kind of the sodium in foods, and it kind of is broken down into 2 sections. The section on the left is, foods that you can choose more often, and then of course on the right, foods that you should choose less often. So there are different types of fats in food. Saturated fats are solid at room temperature and may negatively affect blood cholesterol levels. They're found in many foods, but mostly come from animals and dairy sources such as meat, poultry with the skin, and cream, butter, and other dairy products. They're also in tropical vegetable oils such as palm and coconut oils. Unsaturated fats are generally considered healthier and can be included in the diet in moderation. Try to use these in place of saturated fats. Unsaturated fats are typically liquid at room temperature. Examples include olive, corn, soybean, canola, sesame, and flaxseed oils. Page 16 and 17 in your workbook, it kind of just goes over, let's see, 16 is a fill in the blank, and then 17 is just your food, the foods that have their good source of potassium, the potassium levels, and then also the calories in another column. So for page 16, if you just want to fill in the blanks as I continue, another way to reduce blood pressure is to eat foods high in potassium. It is recommended that you eat 4,700 milligrams per day. Potassium should come from food sources. So fruits and vegetables that are rich in potassium include leafy green vegetables like spinach and yellow or orange vegetables like sweet potatoes and squash. All right, so the DASH diet pyramid. So this is when I would hand out the cookbooks and we would review them, and I would show you some of my favorite recipes, which I will note some of those in the description of this video, so take a look. And then if you try anything from this cookbook that you absolutely love, please send it my way. Of course, I have not tried every recipe. There's quite a bit of them in here. So if you find one that you like, please send it my way. And I would love to, if I haven't tried it yet, I would love to try it. So that would be great. I would appreciate if you could share. So the DASH diet plan helps control and reduce high blood pressure. DASH stands for Dietary Approach to Stop Hypertension. This eating plan includes foods lower in sodium, rich in fruits and vegetables, low-fat milk products, whole grains, fish, poultry, beans, seeds, and nuts. The DASH diet not only lowers sodium, it lowers saturated fats and trans fats to help lower blood pressure. The eating plan requires no special foods and no hard to follow recipes. So we are kind of getting down, so bear with me, we don't have much longer left. So, but if you turn to page 18, 19, 20, and 21 in your workbooks, you can kind of see how the number, so all the food groups and also the calorie level. So I just want to kind of have to review it a little bit. And then you want to keep in mind that the number of servings of each food group depends on the number of calories you're allowed each day. So there's different columns. So I'm looking at, say, the fruits. If I'm allowed 2,000 calories a day, then I would eat 4 to 5 servings of fruit. So you kind of just have to look at it that way. But once you get the chart down and know how to read it, it actually is kind of useful. Definitely helpful when it comes to trying to figure out your serving size. I apologize. That's my phone. All right, so anything else I need to note? And then of course, if you turn to page 23 in your workbooks, there is a session 3 review. Please fill that review out. It's definitely helpful just to go over what we went over. And then an action plan. Yep, that's all the slides I have. So then I would just ask each of you to do an action plan kind of based around nutrition. As you can see on page 24 in your workbooks, there are some ideas for an action plan. You don't have to use any of these. You can use something else, but try to make it health related. And then once again, please check your blood pressures, put it in the personal health diary, and then starting today, you know what, actually starting tomorrow, we'll start tomorrow, depending on when you watch this video. I know some people don't watch it right away in the morning. Keep track of your sodium intake, your fruits and vegetable serving. So those are 3 additional things that we need to keep track of on top of your blood pressure measurements. As for that, also, I will also put this in the email, but can each of you send me your last blood pressure reading that you took? I would like to kind of keep almost a baseline, because this is only session 3, so we're barely a week in. So I would like everyone's blood pressure measurements. And once again, if you haven't turned in those 2 surveys, I know I'm still missing a couple, please do so. I do need those. And then if that's it, of course, any questions, concerns, please feel free to reach out to me. I am available. I have my phone number and my email in the description of this video. So don't hesitate. I hope everyone's doing okay with their blood pressure monitors. Once again, if you need help, you can also just stop in at the Richland County Health Department. I would be more than happy to help you. But if that's it, I will see all of you in session 4. And like I said in a previous session, we will not be following the workbooks for tobacco use cessation. I'm actually going to have a special guest, and we'll be doing a Q&A with her. So stay tuned. All right, everybody, thank you so much. I will see you in session 4. Bye.